And the purpose of today's video is to walk you guys through how we're going to do a leg curl to maximize the stimulus that your hamstrings receive. The key idea I'm going to get into that I use kind of as like the clickbait for this video of decreasing your range of motion, I'm going to put that off to the side, and I'm going to go into some things that you need to be following regardless of what you're going to do range of motion wise that we can do to just maximize your form when doing a lying leg curl. When it comes to setting yourself up for success when doing this leg curl, there are two main things that I want you guys to make sure that you are doing. So when we're looking at where we're going to position yourself in relation to the pivot point on the machine, you can't really see it because my legs are in the way, obviously, but the pivot point of the machine is roughly somewhere around there-ish. I'll circle it in yellow so you can see it. So pivot point is somewhere in there. And then we want to make sure, like you would do for a leg extension, you want your knee to align with that pivot point. And then the angle of this video is a little bit off to the side, so this line is going to be a little bit off. But you want that pivot point to align with your knee. And then the second thing we want to make sure that you're doing setup-wise is where you're going to position this pad of the machine. And you want to put it above your heel, but below your calf, and it's going to sit somewhere in between. And you want it to stay in the same position throughout the entire rep. So right here, it's in between those two spots, and then at the top, it is still in between. And it might move up or down a little bit, but if it's rolling up or down inches, then you need to adjust that position. Now that you've got your setup in order, let's go over some execution cues to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck for every rep that you're doing. The first cue I want you guys to hone in on is grabbing these handles and pulling down hard like you're going to do a lat pull down. The hamstrings, they attach to the hips, so the more stability we can create at the hips, the harder that those hamstrings are going to be able to contract. And the lats themselves, they also attach to the hips. So if we can pretend we're doing a lat pull down to engage the lats, this will increase the stability in their hips, which allows those hamstrings to contract harder. The cue I want you to follow as you're bringing the weight up is to pull your heels up. When targeting any muscle, the initiation for that exercise being performed should come from that target muscle, and in this case, for the leg curl, it's going to be the hamstrings. And that initiation will come from that lower leg moving up as you're pulling your heels up. Throughout the duration of the set, you want to limit the amount of movement that's occurring at the hips. It's not going to be zero, but you want to make sure it's not excessive. And excessive would mean, let's say at the beginning of the rep, instead of your lower leg being the first thing to move up, it would be your butt shooting straight up. If that's occurring, you might need to just simply lower the weight and focus on the cue of raising your heels up. The resistance profile of a lying leg curl is going to be most difficult in that shortened position. So no matter the range of motion you're going to do, spending time in that shortened position is likely going to be a good bet. So now let's get into why performing a smaller range of motion might be a better bet when you're looking to maximize the stimulus onto your hamstrings. Many gym goers, including myself until I took courses from N1 Education, are unaware that the calves are responsible for the first 15 degrees of knee flexion. So that's going to be from this starting position when we have a relatively straight knee. So from here to about here. This portion of the rep is primarily done by your calves. The hamstrings will still be contracting, but they're acting more as a stabilizer. Once you get past this first 15 degrees, the roles will shift. So now, once you get past that point, the hamstrings become the prime movers, and then the calves act as stabilizers at the knee. If your goal is to maximize the stimulus the hamstrings are receiving each rep, you could simply just avoid this bottom 15 degrees, so you're not spending any time in the rep where the calves are going to be the prime movers of the load. This will keep the hamstrings in charge as your prime movers and the calves as stabilizers throughout the entire range of motion. If you don't want to be seen performing an exercise without a full range of motion in the gym, you can still put the bias onto the hamstrings, even if you are still doing that 15 degrees at the bottom, and you could do this simply with your intent and how you're going to execute the exercise. How you'll do this is to start at the bottom slowly. Launching the weight out of the bottom is a great way to train your calves, but a terrible way to train your hamstrings. Accelerating a weight from a stationary position requires more force than moving a weight that is already in motion. So let's say at the bottom of this rep, you're going to explode the weight up, launch it from the bottom. The calves will be primarily responsible for accelerating that weight. And then once you get into the range of motion where the hamstrings become your prime movers, since the weight is already in motion, the force that the hamstrings have to produce is significantly less because you generated momentum with the calves at the bottom. So how big of a difference can eliminating the bottom 15 degrees-ish or so of this movement make for you? For some lifters, it can make little to zero difference. If you have no issues connecting with your hamstrings, this might give you like an extra few percents of benefit. For some, this small cue could be absolutely game-changing. If you have lagging hamstrings and you can't connect to them whatsoever, setting yourself up and executing them in the way that I described in this video is going to make them scream at you. They're going to say like, what the fuck are we doing? We have not had to work this hard. The calves always do all the work. We enjoy just bringing us up to the top quick, but we've never had to be the main bearers of the load like this. So you are likely going to have to decrease the weight you're using, but executing your leg curls in this way is how you'll be strongest in the long run, even if it makes you feel weak today. So the key takeaways from this video is 1, make sure that your knee joint aligns with the pivot point of the machine. 2, pull down hard into those handles if you're doing a pull down to create stability in your hips so that your hamstrings can contract hard. And then 3, if you have issues with connecting with your hamstrings, you can avoid that bottom 15 degrees of that range of motion so the hamstrings stay in control as the prime movers of the load and keeps the calves acting as the knee stabilizers. If you found this video useful and are able to improve your hamstring training, like this video, share this with someone who might have leggy hamstrings or you know is launching out of the bottom. Subscribe to this channel. If you're interested in anything else I have in the name of just getting you fucking yacked, you can head to my website at evolutionaryaesthetics.com. On there, I've got free workout programs for you to follow, along with corresponding YouTube videos where I walk you through the goals of the program, how you're going to execute the exercises within them, why I chose the exercises, and just overall a guide to making sure you're getting the most bang for your buck when you follow any of those programs. You'll also be able to subscribe to my weekly newsletter, and at one point in time, each of the workout programs on my website was the current program I would go through each and every week through that newsletter. Each week, I run through an exercise that's included within the current program. I also go through another topic in general just to help you with your fitness goals, and then I give you updates on whatever the current program is and how you can benefit more from it. And then the other thing on my website you can download is my Potent Priorities ebook. It gives you 4 foundational areas to put the majority of your efforts into, and it will help you maximize your results in the gym, but also improve your quality of life outside of the gym. The book is over 100 pages long, and it starts off with just your typical long-form reading format. But the end part of the book, the resources section, that includes more graphics, images, or just charts in general for more skimming that you can use on a daily basis. Thanks for watching, and we'll see each other in the next video.